Hi everyone, it's Roger and James here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. In this week's episode, we're kind of going to be talking about everything we've been watching because we've been trying to catch up, having had a week away. We're also going to be talking about some of the big news. There's not been a huge amount post D23, but before we jump into any of that, make sure you've subscribed here on YouTube. You can also subscribe on the audio platforms. You can go find us over at whatsondisneyplus.com, etc. Right, so let's do a few bit of the news bits before we go, because over the last 2 weeks, there's been lots of little snippets, but nothing major. One of the big things that was revealed was Armor Wars. The Marvel series that they announced way back at the Investor Day is no longer going to be a Disney Plus series. They've turned it into a movie, which might explain why it was missing from the release schedule from San Diego Comic-Con. A little bit annoying they didn't actually say this at D23, because for the sake of like 2 weeks, like they must have known something was going on at the time. But what did you think of the move of them shifting this over to a movie?
It's an interesting choice. You normally see it going the other direction, going from a movie into a series. And I'm not sure that I view it as necessarily a positive, because now it means that it's got to be a much shorter series. They've got to tighten it up quite a bit, and they've not been great at that in the past.
Yeah.
But we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully, on the other hand, the story gets compressed, but also the special effects budget gets compressed, because if you have let's say a 6-episode series and you've got to spread out the special effects budget, then as we've seen, it can get kind of janky by the end of the series, and you can tell where the budget has been cut. And now with it being shorter, maybe that means we can get a couple more spectacle scenes, a couple more big action scenes, which is what you want from a series called Armor, or a movie called Armor Wars.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of slightly going to slide into like more of like an Iron Man movie kind of territory. The budget's going to be essentially, instead of trying to make 5 hours of television, they can now make 2 hours or 3 hours of a movie. On one hand, I think it might be better for the project, because maybe if it wasn't good enough as a series, you don't want it stretching out a little bit too long. But I'm also, there's that side effect of me. They're kind of going, well, hold on a minute. Are they now looking at they've got like 2-3 years worth of data now from Disney Plus? Are they looking at this going, these Marvel series aren't bringing in the amount of subscribers that we need to, or we need to start cutting budgets because we were producing too much, or we don't even. And I also think if this show is 2-3 years away, do they need as many Marvel shows at that point? I don't know. It's kind of feeling that thing of like, okay, are they readjusting what they need to do, cutting back a little bit? Also, this movie could make $700 to $1 million or $1 billion at the box office. So there's a lot more money on stake if they turn it into a movie, which they're not going to get from a series. I don't know. It's kind of a little bit like, could this be the start of like them going, we need to slightly cool the jets a little bit on Disney Plus? Or is it just a one-off? The story just isn't right for a series.
I'm going to guess it's more, we want to see a more direct monetary value attached to series. Obviously, they've got their metrics and they can correlate, this many people are watching it this much, which means it's bringing in Y amount of money. But when you have the box office, it's just a straight, it made $800 million at the box office. It cost $300 million to make. Obviously, doesn't mean it's just a $500 million profit, but, even laymen can see, it was successful. It made us money in the term here. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But I think Disney Plus, especially right now, we've got a lot of very, very expensive projects that have come out, that are coming out, and it's much harder for Disney to look at it and go, Andor was worth the amount of money that we put into it. Obi-Wan was worth the amount of money we put into it. Winter Soldier and the Falcon was worth the money we put into it or not. And if you can make it a little bit more direct, then that's good for them. And it's good for shareholders too, because then they can go, we are definitively making money, whereas Disney Plus, as far as we know, is still not actually making money.
No, I mean, I also look at this like, when you got things like Daredevil Reborn, which is going to have like 18 episodes, if they can get 4 months out of that, they don't need as many series. If you've got What If dropping in at the same time, and you've got the zombie shows, and you've got these other ones, and maybe if they start throwing in some Marvel specials like Werewolf by Night, a little bit cheaper, but they can kind of stretch that out. And I mean, we're talking here. I mean, one of the big things that we're going to be talking about today is about stuff to watch, because when you combine the power of Hulu and Disney Plus together into what we call Disney Plus internationally, there's a lot of stuff on there. There's a lot of shows. I mean, we're talking, I think we're probably, about a dozen shows this week alone for new shows. They don't need as many. So I'm wondering now whether or not with Marvel, they've got you hooked. They can maybe, I do wonder if we ain't going to get the days of 4 series a year. I think those days, I think we're going to see a bit less. Are we going to see 3 Star Wars series a year? I don't know. I think they running the 2 together, like She-Hulk and Andor. Do they need that? I think this summer it might have shown, and the ratings for like the viewing numbers aren't incredible. They're actually less than they were last year for the other series. So they're not really pulling in the same amount of numbers that they used to.
True. Although the factors in play are also different. Last year we're still kind of in lockdown. I know a lot of places were kind of fuzzy on it and not really enforcing it. But this year we are, at least in the States, not in lockdown. People are out doing things. People are they're traveling. They're going to Disney. They're going to parks. They're going to museums. They're going to all sorts of stuff. And also, summer just ended here for the kids. They're back in school, and kids do make up a fairly sizable amount of the streaming, the binge watching population.
Yeah, so it's definitely going to be interesting how this works moving forward. I mean, I just thought that was a very interesting move to shift that one over. They've also confirmed that Deadpool 3 is going to be coming out in September of 2024. It's going to have Hugh Jackman in it. Again, another one where they said, "Oh, sorry we missed D23." It's like, that would have been you had such a flat D23 from the Marvel side. You had these 2 big announcements just 2 weeks out from D23. So that would have been, I mean, sometimes it can just be down to contracts and stuff, but I do think the reveal of Deadpool and Wolverine seemed to be very, very positive, and then quickly the internet took over and did the opposite thing, and they're going to ruin it doesn't matter. Nothing in the MCU, nothing, timelines don't matter with X-Men especially.
and with Deadpool in particular, that's kind of the thing, is that it's just doing its own thing. I'm personally very excited for it. I'm sure that the reason it wasn't announced at D23 was they hadn't quite gotten the contracts figured out, probably Hugh Jackman's contract specifically. But I'm glad they announced it anyway. 2024 seems like a long way away to get Deadpool 3.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like Blade might have, I don't know if Blade might end up shifting back a bit, because that one seems to be going through some turmoil. The director's changed and the scripts aren't right. And that one seems to be moving around a little bit. Right, so that's the Marvel side of things. Let's now do a couple of other things I want to talk about. Internationally, we have had a bit of an issue the last week with a number of titles have been removed. Now in the US, you generally have like a movie or 2 removed every month. And they usually end up going off to a different platform. Occasionally you have a Christmas special or something that disappears, but usually we'll talk about 1 or 2 things a month. Internationally, we don't really get that, because the deals aren't, once they go on there, they tend to be on there. We've had some like National Geographic stuff that's a bit old to get removed. But then literally for a week, we're talking... could feel it coming. So it was like here in the UK, I think we had 30 to 40 removals within a week, and it wasn't just here, it was happening in Australia, in the Netherlands, all over the place. A load of titles were removed. Reached out to Disney, got told they were looking into it, and it's been over a week. Still haven't heard anything back, but it depends on what's going on with this one. So there's so many titles are removed, and I think there's going to be different layers to some of this. I think some of it is circumstantial, that they all kind of hit at the same time. But first off, like a movie like Titanic, which is a Fox film internationally, in the US it was Paramount. Like, people speculating, was that removed because they're going to be releasing a 4K version, and a bit like with Avatar, so you could kind of put that on one shelf. You got a load of National Geographic stuff, which is a little bit older. Sometimes that stuff's licensed or goes out of date, so they remove some of things, put that over there. Then there's just some random movies and series that got removed that you're like, well, you've only just added them. Why would you take them off? So that was a bit confusing. A lot of people, including myself, thinking there might have been a glitch. Some kind of the expiry date was put in wrong. I mean, we've seen this before where things get put in. And then there was a whole load of Star Originals that got removed, which are, there were things like Rebel. You had Our Kind of People, Big Leap, a host of ones. The majority of which were cancelled after one season. This is the key. And then when I've gone in and looked on like Amazon and iPlayer and all the rest of it, because people are telling me, well, they've been removed from Hulu as well, and they aren't for sale anymore, which kind of is like, So have they just literally removed a load of Star originals that were cancelled because people aren't watching them? They want to cut back on the residuals that they pay to the people that are making it, which sucks because they've not only have they had their show cancelled, then they don't even get the money after they thought they made them. And it's a little bit like, all of this at once was like, what the hell's going on? It was just like, it's not a good look to remove originals, but we were talking like a dozen originals from international markets, and it was a bit like, okay, the show's got cancelled, they're not that popular, there's probably not a lot of people watching it. Yes, it's going to cost money, but you're a bit like, really, like you're going to remove a show that hasn't really been given, didn't even get it going, and then taking it away? Like, it was a bit like, it's not great. It's not great having all this stuff removed.
No, and I would have hoped they would have learned from the backlash against Warner Brothers when they took all the stuff off of HBO Max. My guess is for a lot of the originals, you're probably right. It's because of residuals and contracts, which for a show that only gets one season and is probably not being watched all that much, I feel like they're probably not paying an incredible amount of money out, unless for some reason in the contract it's like, as long as it's in syndication, I will get X dollars per year, which I'm pretty sure is not a contract that they use in Hollywood, but I don't know. But either way, based on what was removed, it looks like it's just there's no point in us keeping it here, and we're just going to remove it, which I mean, they're probably not wrong. People aren't watching them, but at the same time, it does impact the creators, and it's more than just the residuals, because functionally, these are people's resumes, and not just the actors, but like the key grips and the production assistants and all the people who show up in the credits. So you don't actually read their names, but they can go, all right, I'm applying for this television project as a camera operator. You can see my name in the credits of this show right here, and now that show doesn't exist anymore. So you don't have as easy to prove that you worked on it, and thus are hireable for other projects.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I look at it very much from a consumer point of view. This is just not good. It's just not good, full stop. There's, as a subscriber, removing these shows, it's not good. From a business point of view, I can see why they've done it, but I still think it's like, I mean, it is kind of like, okay, they got cancelled. They weren't great. They didn't have huge things. It's like, you're kind of kicking people. People are really like removing them. I don't know. It just feels. I mean, to me, I'm kind of getting to that point now, and Disney Plus has been going now for nearly 3 years coming up next month. It is not the vault. It is not a museum. It is not an area which is going to have every single show, every single movie. It's not that. It's proven that we're kind of at a point now where I feel like I've kind of lost that. I just don't think that's going to happen anymore. It's not been so far, and I don't think it's going to be. And I feel like all the streamers have kind of been doing this. All of them are doing. None of them are. They are not looking now at turning these into museums. They're there as purely as a mobile library. They bring you the best stuff around on the cart going around your streets, rather than bringing the entire, London museum with every single book in. And I feel like that's kind of where it's changed to. And I think it sucks. I would like more stuff on there. I think they are vastly underestimating the value of the old content. But this one was like, really? This just seemed like such a silly odd thing to do.
I would also probably read this as we're not going to see too much archival content coming from this point forward too, because if you're not even willing to keep a show on here that's from like less than 2 years ago, you're definitely not pulling in the random movie from 1965 that aired twice, and which is unfortunate because we still see the questions frequently of when is this niche show going to come onto Disney Plus. And it's like, at this point, I gotta say it's probably not going to happen at all. If your show's not here, it's not. It's probably not coming.
And it feels almost like they're only picking the good stuff that they know is going to. I mean, there was a big question mark this week about Zorro. Was it going to arrive? Was it going to hit Disney Plus? It got removed from the list after they sent it out. It did arrive. Great. Didn't arrive everywhere. Just arrived there. But at the same time, the classic 1950s Mickey Mouse Club episodes got removed. Like you can only have one from, from that era, and I was just like, oh, we just like doubled the amount of 50s stuff, and then no, it takes it. It just feel like they're just Disney are just and I say Disney, but I feel like all of them, they're all as bad as each other. They are just looking at this stuff. I mean, I know they just said that they're starting working on Moonlighting, a sitcom from the 80s, and they're going to remove all the music and stuff, and they're doing stuff, but it's just disappointing, and it is disappointing. And again, this is where Disney need to start telling if you're going to start removing stuff, you need to inform consumers. You need to put a little note inside or put out on your press release that it's this is being removed every month, especially when we get into like with what they're doing with Hulu. If eventually that comes in, and now with Disney Plus being bigger, if you're not removing stuff, yeah, you can get away with not having it, but you are starting to remove things. And there might be legitimate reasons, and this might just be a one-off. But yeah, it just sucks all around, I think, for this one.
And to hit on a point you just mentioned there, we've been asking from before Disney Plus launched, communication. Tell us what's going on. We don't need to know the nitty-gritty. We don't need to know, the behind-the-scenes details, but if you know that Mickey Mouse Club is going to be going away, tell us. Just let us know.
Or even if you're bringing it back as well.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the key thing as well. But then you kind of think like you could just remove it on the day. Like you don't need to remove like the whole stinky mess of Avatar, because that's a stinky move. That's like we're gonna re-release it in cinemas, but we're gonna slide it off of Disney Plus and hope that nobody noticed we've removed the biggest movie of all time. It's just like it's stinky.
That was. It's not a good look, and also it's Avatar. Yes, it's like the biggest box office gross of all time, but I don't think most people are going to line up to see it again in theaters as a reminder for Avatar 2. And I think they understood that. They're like, no, if it's on Disney Plus, we're not going to get any money back at the box office. So let's kind of force people to go to the box office to see Avatar, which they probably don't remember, in advance of Avatar 2. It absolutely reeks of corporate decision. And I mean, it's an empty threat for me. I wasn't going to watch it anyway, but I'm definitely not going to watch it in theaters now.
No, I mean
the first one.
I mean, I think I watched it last year, but I am planning on watching it again before The Way of Water comes out. I would, but it's like I'm not going to cinema to see it. There's no chance. I've seen it like 20 times. I don't want to pay and go see it again. It's just like, and then the fact that it was only for a 2-week engagement. I mean, they're probably going to make a big deal of bringing it back. Like, well, you took it off. It's just because I think like Willow, for example, recently was upgraded to 4K. Just one day you went in there and it was added, or like yesterday added in like the Zulu version of the Lion King. Great, adding in stuff or replacing things, great, but not just it's just a bit messy. It's just a bit messy. Right. So before we get into, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about in terms of TV. So before we do that, quick bit of housekeeping. Big thank you to all of our supporters on Patreon and YouTube channel members. So this helps support the channel, helps support the podcast, making sure that we're not reliant then on advertising and all the rest of it. You guys really do help with all of this stuff. So big hello and thank you to Babak. We've also got Paul, Daniel, Elliot, Aero, Caitlin. We've got Red Marsman, Cody, Chris, Jacob, Darren, The Juice, Sarah, and Andrew. And also a big hello to Tim, Chuck, David, Mahmoud, Raphael, Adam, Dana, Ricky, Dave, my VCR still works, Bina, Joshua, Dawn, Martin, and a huge thank you to Sarah for all of your support. We're back doing live Q&As from this Sunday, so we're back to our normal time, normal schedule, and bar sickness or unforeseen circumstances, the plan is to be doing Q&As right through to the end of the year. It might just change around, I think, because America sometimes changes the clocks like a week before us or something. It always throws us off. But yeah, so there we go. So we've actually got a lot of stuff to talk about in terms of what we've been watching, because it's been like 2 weeks. Haven't been able to watch everything because it's just been, I mean, the list of stuff coming to Disney Plus internationally, and some of the stuff is I mean, I was looking the other day, I think like we're like, if you include all like the Korean shows and stuff, and we're looking at like a dozen shows a week arriving internationally on Disney Plus right now. It's actually got to the point where you just can't keep up. It's quite hard to get. And I've been watching stuff that's coming out in a couple of weeks' time. I'm coming out, I've got reviews coming up. For example, for Big Shot and Rosalind. They'll be coming up this week. There's some other stuff I've been watching as well. But yeah, there's been so much on Disney Plus. So we're going to try and keep this brief, try and run through some bits and pieces and give our sort of initial thoughts. Right, let's start off with Hocus Pocus 2, which came out 2 weeks ago for Halloween. What did you think of this one?
I enjoyed it quite a bit, actually. It was fun. It was campy. It had the right tone. It felt like a good sequel follow-up to the first one. Not necessary watching, but if you liked the first Hocus Pocus, regardless of like nostalgia or anything, if you just enjoyed the first Hocus Pocus, you will like this one. They did well, and the Sanderson sisters they're just fun to follow. They're really enjoyable.
They're so cool in this one. I don't have the nostalgia goggles for Hocus Pocus because I only saw the first one like in the last 2 years. I enjoyed the second one. It was just more fun with the Sanderson sisters. I thought the three girls, the heroes, were so bland and like just I didn't care. I just didn't. I know that they were quite bland in the first film, but this one it was like you didn't really know their names. You didn't really care what they were doing. It was a bit. I think that was the one thing that was a little bit like. You didn't really, that was the only issue. But it was fun. It was a fun movie. It's simple and effective.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far as that. Like, I didn't care about the girls. I just wish they had been fleshed out a bit more, especially since one of them is actually a witch as well, and it would have been nice to get a bit more of their perspective. But again, it is very obvious. The stars of the show are the Sanderson sisters, and Disney clearly understands that. All the merchandise is the sisters. All of the advertising is the sisters. I think most of the posters don't even have the girls on them, which is unfortunate for the actresses involved. But you're going to watch Hocus Pocus to see Bette Midler be this over-the-top, crazy, nutty witch, and then her two sisters who are quite dumb, intentionally dumb. That's their character. Traits, but
it was fun. I mean, it was the biggest movie premiere in the US. I didn't like the fact that it's like it says US, so therefore internationally it wasn't as big as Turning Red. But which doesn't surprise me because again, this feels like a very
Halloween isn't really that big a thing outside of the US. I mean, I know that the candy manufacturers and stuff are trying to expand it out into Europe and Asia and such, but as near as I can tell, it just is not grabbed on the same way it is here in America.
No, I mean, it's got bigger over the years, but but I did thought that was quite funny with how all that worked. But it was a nice, solid, easy movie. I did watch Rosalind last night. Can't go into full review till next week, but that was a fun love story, like romantic comedy with a bit of a twist on Shakespeare, with a bit of a modern twist. So look out for that one next Friday. So we'll do a full review next week on that one. But that's should be good. If you like rom-coms, that's going to be one to check out. We also had Mighty Ducks, The Return of the Mighty Ducks Game Changers Season 2. I've watched the first 2 episodes.
This was better than Season 1.
Did you think? Because this was so...
It's bland, but...
Bland.
I would say it's better than Season 1, and simply in that it actually has a coherent story this time. Also, it's doing something a little bit different. But...
I think the trouble is with Mighty Ducks is like the first half of the first season was quite strong when they were bringing them all back together. It was the second half where everything like kind of fell off when COVID hit. It's a little bit like this whole thing of this camp, and it's like, oh, they're really into sports, and it's over the top, and they're like, as a non-sports person, it's just like, this is, I can completely side with the mum on this one, but to the point where it's like everything, I don't know, I'm really just struggling with this. I watched the second episode this morning. I'm like, I don't know if I want to watch the rest of this. I'm just bored.
Yeah, that's fair. But I actually completely disagree with the mum on this one, which is interesting because in general, I agree with her. Like kids sports, just let the kids have fun. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Your kid's not going to the NHL. They're not going to the Premiership. They're not going to be a professional. The odds are not in your kid's favor.
Yeah.
So most of the time, like parents at the little peewee games, just back off, let the kids have fun. However, the point of this particular series is that they are at a training camp for getting better. These are supposed to be the best players in the country kind of deal. It's not the same. You don't go over to the kids who actually do have a possible shot at going professional and go, no. It's just for fun. It doesn't matter if you win or lose, because that's not how they play. And the show is very explicit. No, this is bringing your game to a next level. This is not a for fun thing. This is a skills thing. And the mom just missing that completely is just like, no, normally I agree with you. Here I do not. And I suspect they're going to do like kind of a walk back, because all the trainers and such are so over the top. Like the weightlifter's just insane. I hope they figure out what they're doing with her, because she's insane. But like the food guy, you're supposed to be presented with, oh my goodness, he's throwing away the pizza. What a monster. He's not letting them have cookies. What a monster. It's like, yeah, but if you want to train to be the best athlete in the world, that's a sacrifice you have to make. It's not unreasonable to go, no, you're trying to get in peak condition. Don't eat pizza. You have to eat this stupid protein shake, which is probably disgusting, but it will make you a better player. It will enhance your muscle growth and all that stuff. It's like,
it definitely feels like and I think the main kid, that wants to be, it's like, you kind of feel like he actually and they're playing on the idea of him actually enjoying it and wanting to do it, and the other ones don't really want to do it. And I don't know, I just really struggling with this series so far. The first 2 episodes really didn't pull me in. This show is way down on my watch list now. Of if I finish the series, I don't know. I think had they dropped it as a binge drop, I don't know. It's an uphill battle. It's like I'm not really sold on it. I think, I don't know. It's one of those things. I'm just not really. The characters as well have all just got a bit like.
Other than the main character and Nick, the sidekick character, they've all kind of blended together into just a blob. I do think it is better than season 1 at this point. And yes, season 1 had a strong start and ended poorly. I like that this is in a different direction. It's not just, we moved up a division and now we're fighting the next big team of ruffians or something. This is different. Also, I kind of like the storyline going on with the trainer and his son, where normally the son is like, gung ho, I'm going to follow after my dad. And this guy's like, I'm only doing it because he makes me to. And there's potential in that story. But that's what's holding me on in the series, is that some of these storylines have potential, and I don't know yet if the potential will be realized or not. And given season 1, I don't have an incredible amount of faith that they will, but I will stick with it. Whether or not we talk about it, it'll be a different matter entirely.
It's a bit of a tricky one, because it's like, if this was 2020, this would be the only thing we'd have to talk about, because it would be the only thing that would have been out, and we're like, it's good, it's fine, because it's unfortunately now there's so much content, especially internationally now. You're like, and obviously this week's been pretty busy with trying to catch up after a week away, and also with D23. There's still some stuff that I've not caught up from that. But it was I think that's the thing of international, and they're going, there's a lot of other great stuff on here to watch. And
that's the thing. Even though I am vaguely positive on it, we've got Andor coming out, we've got She-Hulk coming out, we've got Werewolf by Night came out, we had Hocus Pocus 2 coming out, we've got Rosalind next week. It's like, on the priority list, this is really, really low. If it had come out without Andor coming out, or without She-Hulk coming out at the same time, give it a little more attention, give it a little more thought. But honestly, unless you are enamored with the series or you love hockey, you're not missing much.
No. It's definitely, a little bit off. Okay, let's talk about another Disney Plus original which dropped this week, which was Shipwreck Hunters Australia. So this was a brand new 6-part documentary, an Australian series, where each episode they go off to a different wreck off of Western Australia and investigate it. I watched 2 episodes this morning. I mean, I love Western Australia. Western Australia is one of the most beautiful places in the world. The waters there are amazing for diving and snorkeling and stuff. The Ningaloo Reef. So I was obviously brought in on it because of where they were leaving Fremantle and stuff. It's like, okay, you know, they all love wrecks, they all love diving, there's loads of fishing, the stories are interesting. I like as well with them doing each episode being an individual story, because you kind of got why they're doing it, what they're looking for, a bit of history, and then obviously they find it. And it's a really, if you like shipwrecks and you like diving kind of shows, this could be on Discovery, could be on Channel 4, could be on Nat Geo. This is a really well made original series. This is easy to overlook, but it is a really solid documentary series. I'm gonna carry on with the other 4 episodes. It's on my watch list now for the month.
Yeah, I've seen 1 episode of it because so much to watch. But I have to agree. This reminded me a lot of a 1990s History Channel series, at least here in the States. I'm not sure what that looked like on your side, but good, solid documentary with a strong focus on history. I learned a lot about the ship in particular for the episode, and it found a good balance between what's going on now with the divers and what's going on in the past and why I should care about this wreck and things like that. Again, not a super go out must see, but if you're looking for a documentary or something informational, this is a really good one.
Yeah, it kind of feels a bit like something like it easily gets overlooked, very easily overlooked in that massive pile, but definitely a good recommendation. We also got the return of the Kardashians internationally and on Hulu in the US. Got the first 2 episodes last week, and we got a new episode on Thursday. Me and my wife binged all 3 episodes last night. Again, just lots of drama, lots of, if you like the Kardashians, you like them. If you hate them, don't watch it.
Or if you're ambivalent to them.
Yeah. My wife was very much on the lines of, is there some new episodes? Is there some new episodes? So we watched them last night, and she did laugh and like going, like, you like the Kardashians? I said, I'm watching it for work. It's like, no. It's fun. It's completely frivolous. Lots of different angles, lots of different stories with each of them doing different things. I mean, watching Kris Kardashian getting high off of like marijuana gummies because she's got a bad hip. You know, she's like and just them going off the different. It's just a good series. If you like reality TV and you like the Kardashians, give this show a go. We've got 2 seasons now, new episodes every week. But yeah, so I had a full binge last night of that one. I know you didn't.
No, I don't hate it, but I don't care. It only exists for me when someone mentions it. Otherwise,
I know a lot of people really don't like it, and it is completely over the top and just unnecessary, a lot of the stuff they do, but it's just like binge TV. So, another show. Oh yeah,
I was gonna say, so is the next show the other one I don't care about?
Yeah, the D'Amelio show.
Yeah.
So this one here, we got 2 episodes on Disney Plus last week, and we got another 2 episodes this week. I think it's 2 episodes a week, again on Hulu in the United States. This one is about the TikTok stars Charlie and Dixie, and about their rise to kind of fame and their lifestyles. Kind of very much, it's a bit like, in some ways, like the Kardashians, but it's without all the glitz and the glam, because they're, you know, they are 18, 19, 20 years old. They're trying to show it the other way, a little bit more of like, this is what happens when you get super famous, you know, and the anxieties that you have, the panic attacks, the dealing with social trolls. I mean, both shows actually deal with it, but these girls are much younger, and they've come up in a different era to like the Kardashian sisters, the bigger one, the older ones. I think the D'Amelio show would have been a perfect Disney Plus series, because I think it's the right age group for younger teenagers to watch this. They're extremely popular. They deal with some issues and stuff, like moving out from your parents and stuff. It just feels a little bit more like this is a teenage show, and I think it's definitely. I think this one's a good one not to overlook on it. It's very easy. I mean, if you like the Kardashians and stuff like that, maybe give this one a go. It's not on the same level, but I think the first series really dealt with a lot more of stuff because of like issues with like suicide and stuff, of how they were feeling under the pressure. And obviously, the mum Heidi and Charlie are both on Dancing with the Stars, which is every single week as well on the US. Haven't been able to watch that one because obviously it's not out here in the UK, and with that I just haven't had a chance to kind of watch it. But it was a little bit weird being out because I was out in Vegas last week, and obviously the time zones, it was happening while I was out there, and I was like, oh, I could have watched that. It's just, but totally kind of But yeah, the D'Amelio show, definitely worth checking out if you've enjoyed them. If you follow the two girls on TikTok, give it a go. But also, I think it's a very good way of just seeing what being an influencer and being a singer in the 2022s is like.
Yeah, I have nothing to say on it because I haven't seen it at all, and it's not on my list of things to watch. Granted, if there had been less things to catch up on, both of us were on vacation. So this past week has been lots and lots of catching up on things, and it's like, you know what? If it was the only thing, maybe I'd try it out. But we have so much to watch. And several of them movies and longer form content. I was like, okay.
Yes.
So why don't we talk about some of those instead?
Right. Okay. Let's see what else we got. Reasonable Doubt was another show. That one dropped onto Hulu and Disney Plus around the world. Oh, it didn't drop in the UK for some reason. It's being held back. I suspect it will come at some point. Have
you seen it then? Or?
I have seen the first 2 episodes. Okay. Because the first 2 episodes came out last week and another episode came out on Tuesday here in the UK. I did actually do an interview with one of the directors and the executive producer of the show this week. So check that out on the channel. Really interesting discussion with him about how they made the show. So that's why I obviously watched a couple of episodes in advance. This was not what I was expecting. It's a real heavy drama series. It's a little bit more explicit than I was expecting. It's the first drama from the Disney's Oxford Collective. It's made by an all-black crew. It deals with she's like a lawyer and dealing with issues with law cases and stuff going on in her life. This was pretty heavy. I thought this was a really good drama series. I can't wait to watch the rest of it. This one really got its grips into me.
Yeah, I watched the first episode, and when I was done with the first episode, I was like, I have to give this series the time it is due. I can't just put this on a second scene, which means I'm watching it this weekend rather than in advance because I did not have a chance to, or rather I should say, when I had a chance to like sit down and focus, it was Andor and She-Hulk and Werewolf by Night. So I'm planning to watch the rest of it this season, this weekend. But yeah, the first episode was fantastic. It's just really good. It is a quality series. It's hard hitting. It doesn't sugarcoat things, and I would. It's a different topic, obviously, but I would put this up there with like Dope Sick and what was the one?
Dropout and
Dropout.
This one was very, very good. This is if you want a proper serious legal drama with what it's like living in the US, and it's just a really good drama series. Can't recommend that one enough as well. I'll be honest. Also, this week we did have the Walking Dead has returned in the UK. Due to jet lag, I didn't get to watch it on Monday. So I'm going to watch that one on Monday when the second episode of the final batch drops. So I'm a little behind on The Walking Dead, but that one dropped here in the UK on Disney Plus. We're just like, there's so much stuff. Like I said, there's so much stuff. Another show which dropped here in the UK, and it's been out in the US for a while, The Bear. This is an FX series. We got the entire season dropped here in the UK on Wednesday. I've been looking forward to this one for a long time. I used to run a cafe for 20 years. I put an episode on this on 4 episodes later. I'll probably be binged through this by the end of the week. This one is a great show because he basically inherits like a sandwich cookery shop, sandwich shop. But he's a high-end cook, and all the troubles that come with family, with having inherited something, working with family, health inspectors, working with staff. And I could completely relate to the guy. And I think this one has got a lot of amazing reviews. I mean, this one's got a lot of critical response. It's already been renewed for a second season. This, for me, is the best thing I've watched all week, and I can't wait to watch the rest of the season. This one, this is a fantastic show.
I did not watch this when it came out because I knew we weren't going to talk about it because the thing is I'm going to add it to the list of things to watch again. I just wish they would synchronize these schedules a little bit better.
The release schedule for The Bear has been awful. It's been weekly in some countries, binge drops in other countries. Some of it landed in August, some of it landed in September, some of it landed on. It's been a mess for the release schedule. Same thing for Reasonable Doubt as well. I think that's going to be a bit like it. But
It's
The
the
bear.
FX shows. The FX shows are so weird with the release schedules, and I don't know why.
But if you're in the UK, watch The Bear on Disney Plus right now. This is probably one of their best series, I think. Of this is going to be a top one for me. And it's not just because I've obviously been in that situation. It's very hard hitting. It's dealing with issues and about the real life of like running a restaurant and running a sandwich.
Who was the main actor in that one?
I don't know his name, but the guy is in Andor as well. He's one of the guys is in it. Just a really, really, really good show. So recommend that one. Right, let's now talk about let's see what else we got here on the list. Right. She-Hulk. Let's talk about She-Hulk now. So we had 2 episodes. I did actually have to try and remember what last week's episode was, and that was The Retreat, which was so boring and so rubbish we're not even going to bother with it. Because it was awful, wasn't it?
I didn't really have a problem with it, but I definitely would not put it near the top of the list.
I actually had to sit there and go, what was last week's episode?
Yeah,
and I couldn't remember. I actually had to go and look. Yeah. It was just so blah.
Yeah, I saw what they were going for with it, but could have done without that episode.
But that and the wedding episode was just like the two of them together. It was like, okay, we don't need this chunk. We could take them out.
At the very least, you can at least say that they weren't like a complete tone shift the way like Miss Marvel 3 and 4 were. I would agree. Like if you were ever going to skip 2 episodes, it'd be the wedding and the retreat. But then, but they're not necessary to skip. You can watch them just fine. But then there's episode 8 with Leapfrog, the true hero of the series.
Oh, what a great episode! This is like episode like probably the second best episode of the series. I love this one.
It's definitely up there, and it's not just because of who our guest star was last week.
Leapfrog.
Leapfrog. Everyone wants more Leapfrog. He's going to be the new Wong of the series, or Wang from the series. Yeah. He's going to be everywhere. I'm sure of it.
I think the thing is, obviously bringing in Daredevil just like instantly just like raises the stakes in this one. The way they brought him back in, and obviously being a lawyer and just completely sniffing out Leapfrog's problems, straight away, and it kind of felt like a legal drama, but they didn't waste too much time dealing with it. He just completely outsmarted them straight away, dealt with the Accords, and got that whole situation kind of wrapped up and gone.
To be fair, though, I think that part of this wasn't necessarily Daredevil being legally savvy. It was Jennifer being legally stupid. Yeah. If I had I'm not a lawyer, so I'm obviously kind of talking out my randomness here, but if I had a manufacturer's defect case that I was trying, I would make sure that my client hadn't made modifications to the item before going to court.
Yeah.
Just saying. And I imagine that She-Hulk in general would be a smart enough lawyer to be like, did you put jet fuel into the thing that says not to put jet fuel into it?
Yeah. And I think the whole thing as well of like suing Edna Mode. You've literally just built him up for the last 3 episodes of like, it could have done with putting that with somebody else. But it was a fun episode. I enjoyed it was fun from beginning to end. I love the fact that they made Daredevil do the walk of shame in the morning.
Well, he didn't seem to mind.
No, but
he was just kind of strolling around.
He's like, he didn't have any clothes. So I thought that was good. I like anyway, they had good chemistry together. That kind of fits in again to the Daredevil personal, what he's like. Mm-hmm. It was lighthearted, but it didn't feel like they didn't like take the mick out of him too much. And it does seem like there was a lot of expectation on what they were going to do with this one, and I think a lot of people were like, no, they handled him fine. They got him right.
They handled him fine. I could have done with a little bit less CGI with his acrobatics, like when he's scaling down the side of the car park and stuff like that. But the fight between him and Jen was really well done as well. I think that's where the majority.
And I was going to say that. And also as well, that the corridor scene. I just love the fact they just like boom over with. It's like, oh, okay.
It was good. It was too bad. It would have been nice to have the single shot corridor scene like they had in all the Defenders shows back on Netflix, but obviously the budget's a little bit different here, and he's not the main hero. But yeah, episode 8, definitely one of the highlights, and it leads into the season finale next week.
And also as well as, it does feel like that sort of set that up quite nicely. I mean, the fact of her losing her rag and like becoming angry and kind of everyone like essentially turning on her because she got angry. Sort of sets it up. I'm really hoping we get that, like, She-Hulk will return in season 2 at the end of next week. I feel like this show feels like the one of going, look, if you're going to do a show, do this one. I know it's not in the same league as Moon Knight and all the rest of it, but it's like, this is a TV show. This fits the TV show mode. It's much easier for doing bits and pieces and so on. And yeah, to me, I'm hoping we get, because if they say She-Hulk returns in Captain America New World Order, that feels a long time away.
It does. We can expect her probably, because I think Leader is supposed to be.
The Leader's going to be in it. So,
and he was introduced in Incredible Hulk.
But
I recognize that this is not like the huge budget things. This isn't WandaVision. This isn't Loki. But it's been consistently good. Yes, we were just complaining about episode 7, but it's been consistently good. It's been fun. It's had the right tone. It's the kind of thing that Marvel really needs in the MCU, because not everything needs to be the world is ending and that level.
Because this is the thing I think with She-Hulk is that you can do the retreat episode and the wedding episode, and feels like you can get away with doing those random stuff because of the format of the show. It wouldn't work in the other ones, but this one you can kind of do something a little bit different, and you can tie it in with another movie or if you needed to. But it's nice. It's just lightheartedness, because comic books aren't always big epic fights, and there is a lot of lighthearted stuff that goes on. So no, I'm enjoying it. I'm looking forward to the finale this week. I'm still a little bit iffy whenever she Hulk's in the office and stuff. It still looks a bit odd.
The CGI for She-Hulk never really fully matured, but I'm going to put that down more to the technology. They're still developing that technology, and I'm hoping a couple of years from now, we'll maybe with this show or with other shows, we'll look back and go, oh yeah, it wasn't ready yet, but you can see the evolution of it over time, and when they get it to a point where we want it to be in a few years or however long, we can look back and go, yeah, okay, it was necessary for this so that we could get that.
I'm expecting a bit of an uptick in quality for next week, and I expect actually the Daredevil one was a bit better as well, because I think they probably put a little bit more into it because they knew this one. But no, really good series. Let's talk now about the other Marvel project that got released this week, Werewolf by Night. So this is a special. It was about a 50-minute special. What did you think of it?
I actually could have gone for it being a little bit longer, to be honest. Give us a little bit more of some of the other hunters who are in this this movie, and rather than just be like, all right, that guy gets killed off immediately, that guy gets killed off immediately, etc., etc. But that aside, I actually quite enjoyed this. This was a good Halloween monster slasher, mostly played straight, just within the Marvel universe.
See, when we saw the trailer for this one back at D23, I wasn't excited about it. I watched this one, and it was something. It's a bit of an odd one. There's some stuff in this one I liked. Okay, Man-Thing is awesome. I loved him in it. It was great. I love the idea that they went and did something different. I love the idea that they tried something. I could have done with a little bit more development of like some back history of who Werewolf by Night is. It would have been nice to kind of learn a little bit more about him, because I feel like I didn't really learn much about him. But overall, this is for me is like the worst thing in MCU. This is like below Dark World of. I just didn't enjoy it that much. It was I didn't like the format. It could have done with being a little bit longer. Black and white for me doesn't bring back nostalgia. That brings back the thing of when I had a black and white TV as a kid and was waiting. I don't know if it's just for me. I've just like seeing it in black and white. It brought back that feeling of when I had a black and white TV and I wanted a color TV. when I was a kid, and having to watch shows like the monsters. It's like it was just that was frustration of like I don't have good feelings of black and white. This was stuff I wanted to move. I remember just being a kid and wanting to get away from black and white stuff. Instantly just brought me in going, like the minute they turned to color, it's like at least we're going to carry on in the future with them in color. I just don't have nostalgia. I don't have that feeling of, oh, it's arty and farty. It's like, no, you did it black and white because it's cheaper and you can do the blood. And I don't know, that whole gimmick of it being set in the 40s and, you know, being just the exact opposite for me. It just turned me off, just completely turned me off from it.
But I think you're also completely misunderstanding. It's not a nostalgia thing. Yeah. It is not, do you remember the simpler times? Yeah. And so it is a genre convention. It's part of the aesthetic of the monster movies. It's not supposed to be monsters or original Addams families or things like that. So it's not supposed to invoke a feeling of nostalgia. No. It is supposed to instead invoke, no, this is a monster movie. It's going to be a bit schlocky. It's going to be a bit campy, but it's also going to be violent, gory. Yes, part of it is we can do the blood, and it doesn't come across quite as bad because it's in black and white. But it's more than just that, and it's unfortunate that you have that negative connotation with the black and white. But this is, it's not supposed to be a happy feeling.
No, it's just I think the format for me was just like, it was just a turn off the whole way through it of just like, I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. And it was just like the monster that, you know, it just looked awful. The werewolf, it just literally along the lines of just like, there was this, other than the bits with Man Thing, the rest of it for me was just like, when's this? I literally was just like, when is this thing over? I've never felt like that with an MCU project before, of just like, this is just, it was like, I can see where you're going from and I can see what it's going for. And it wasn't a case of like, there's a problem. I don't have a problem, you know, what they were doing and how they're doing it. I can understand that and I can things it, but I just did not enjoy it. I just didn't. And I think, you know, it was just like, because it was funny because I had like, you know, a load of people online that were watching like early the set, and they're all gushing over it. And I'm going, I don't see what you're saying. Literally, I was like, and they go, am I like? I was like, yeah, I am the outsider here, or it's just like, I really don't get this. This is just not for me. This is just not working. I'm glad they did it. I'm glad, and a load of people are really enjoying it, but I'm so interested to see because it seems to be either. I think it's either going to be love or hate. I don't know. On this one's going to be a bit of an odd one.
Yeah, and I'm on more of the love side for it. I really did enjoy it quite a bit. I wish it was a bit longer. I would have liked to know a little bit more about some of the other hunters, but it hit the right notes for me. It is a slasher film. It is. It's supposed to be a little bit scary, a little bit. Kind of gory and violent. It hits different than pretty much anything else in the MCU does at this point. It is one of the most violent things in the MCU. The only thing comparable would be like in the Multiverse of Madness when Wanda takes on the members of the Illuminati. That's the only thing that comes close to it. And yeah, for me, it was a hit. And I think, especially in the Halloween season, if you're looking for something a little more serious than Hocus Pocus 2 to turn on, but you're still on the Disney Plus side, this is the one to turn on. Maybe don't show it to the kids. It definitely has some gore to it.
Yeah, I think for me, the trouble is for me is I've never been a big fan of horror as a genre. Every movie I've, you know, I remember I'd go and see some horror movies and stuff, and I'd just be laughing because I just would think it was so like cheesy, and it's just like kind of thing of, you know, going in. I think we were in like Universal Studios, and you had like the monsters area where you went, and it was just like, it just did not. There's something about that thing of it just does not work for me, and I think that was ultimately the problem for this one, of trying to bring in something that I don't really like and applying, and it was just like, can we not just do it normally, please?
See, normally I'm the same. You know, like horror movies, I have like no interest in seeing Hellraiser, which I think came out this week, or Chucky or Scream or Nightmare on Elm Street, any of that stuff. Nothing. It does nothing for me. And as a kid, they scared the nonsense out of me. Today, I just sound like this is ridiculous and stupid. But this one, for whatever reason, it hit properly. Man Thing was great. Elsa was great. Jack Russell was good.
It's kind of funny as well because they did, literally like yesterday, Werewolf by Night debuted at the DCA Avengers campus, and obviously he was up there and he was running around. But they also had Elsa Bloodstone like in a red like out, and I'm like going, and I said to someone that sent it, going, well, how would you know? Because you would never have seen her in that outfit. Well, so therefore, like if you were walking through the park and you saw, you wouldn't even know who it was.
Well, you do see her when they're playing Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and the color shift transition occurs. But yes, for the most part, it's in black and white. This for me, honestly, because I would rather watch Dark World again than watch this one again. That's how. Dark World is definitely towards the bottom of the list, but I actually still enjoy it. So I don't even use that. For me, it's Far
Morbius.
From Home. I haven't seen Morbius. And Morbius isn't part of the MCU anyway. Far From Home is my bottom tier one, and I would definitely watch this before I'd watch Far From Home.
It's just like I said, it's one of those things of I could see what they're doing on so many levels. I agreed with what they were doing and how they did it, and I can see why it worked, and I can see why people were connecting with it. It just did not resonate with me.
But that's also, in a way, a good thing, because it does mean that they are exploring a lot of different things, and there will be genres that are just not for us as it continues forward. It kind of sucks to be like, I want everything in the MCU to be for me, but they're not going to be.
I feel the thing is as well, it's like the fact that they only released a trailer for this like 2 weeks before it come out was very much along the lines of they are going to be watching how people react to this, the numbers, how the feedback is, because this was a risk. They took something very risky here and doing something very different. And I gotta, good. I'm glad they're doing it, and they didn't see. And I feel we're going to see a lot more Marvel specials in the future. I think we're going to see more of this and less series, because I think this will be a lot easier for them to maintain.
Yeah, and I'd be 100% behind that as well. These shorter, long form projects have a space, and they can explore characters who you can't pitch a series for, you can't pitch a movie for, but you can stick them into something like this.
I'm really glad, and I can also see them doing something else with the character. I mean, I just like to see where they go after, when they just sat around the campfire, because Man Thing was great. I mean, I did love him all in it, but I probably need to watch it again, because it really just didn't click with me the first time.
If it didn't click with you the first time, I'm not going to sit down and go, yes, Roger, you missed out on a classic here. I don't know. We must have watched two completely different movies because you're insane. No, it's not going to click for everyone. And if you're not in the right mindset for it, it's probably not going to click. I'd say this is a good one to get ready for Halloween. Maybe not necessarily on Halloween, but like in the lead up, if you want to get into that mentality, this is a good one for it. If you like monster movies, it definitely has tribute to a lot of monster classics. I generally am not a monster fan, but I enjoyed it anyway. So if you're kind of on the fence, give it a shot. It's only an hour. And if you don't like it, well, you don't even have to go the hour. If you don't like the first 10 to 15 minutes of it,
speed forward half an hour.
I mean, don't go half an hour. If you don't like the first 10 to 15 minutes of it, just turn it off. It tells you what it is up front.
See, I didn't mind the last like 10 minutes where we were actually in the action of them like running around, and that was all right. But nevertheless,
again, could have used more of the hunters, which would have included more of that kind of running around and doing actiony things.
Yeah, other than that, like that prop within the puppet or something like that. The
puppet is intentionally kitschy.
That's bad. Anyway,
but it's supposed to be bad. You're supposed to cringe at the puppet.
Right. So let's now talk about finally. Let's talk about now Star Wars Andor. So we had the 4th episode last week, the 5th episode this week. Really, again, such a different tone for Star Wars, isn't it? I'm really enjoying it. Very slow, methodical. It's just really. It just feels so much like better. I don't know. It's just an enjoyable show to watch, this one.
it's elevated what we expect from a Star Wars show, and I'm actually really liking this 3-episode format with a larger arc going between them. Kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with the inspector who's now been fired, because obviously his story is still going on because we're following him, but right now he's literally just kind of in limbo.
Yeah, he's looking for a job at Kellogg's.
Yeah, he's gonna sell Wookiee Puffs.
They're still going to be in stores.
I'm surprised they're not, to be honest. That seems like an obvious marketing thing right now, but yeah. This is the first time in a while on Disney Plus where I've been like, I need to get this next episode right now. I need to see how this particular arc ends. I can't wait to see what the next arc is after that. It has this feeling like episode 6 is going to be just impactful and meaningful, and we're going to get this thing going on in the base, and all the pieces are coming together, and which isn't to say that
we're still only the halfway point,
right? Because that's going to propel us into the third arc and so on. But it still feels like, episode 6 is a conclusion. It's not the conclusion, but it is a conclusion, which gets you that kind of satisfying, continual build up, release, etc. And I'm super excited for episode 6.
As well as it's just this whole thing of them put them on this planet. And they've got a job to do with this group of people, and that's it. It's enclosed in. That's what it is. It's not generally being in. Everything coming in from outside of it. Slower paced. Him just getting with this team. I don't think all of them are going to make it.
That's another part of it too, because this is a Rogue One prequel. We do get kind of the sense that not everyone's coming home from this.
No, and it's just really interesting television. It's building on that style. It just feels so different tonally from like The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett. It's like you are looking out in some ways for like little cameos, but it's not built on that. It's not the whole point of this episode of who's going to turn up in the last 2 minutes. You haven't got that.
Well, the cameos are not characters in this case. It's references to things that you know about. Like they were talking about some of the planets, and they're like, okay, this, and they name dropped like the Hosnian Prime system and Jakku, and like, oh, I know those planets. But that's it. You're not going to those planets. It's just them mentioning them as part of their like report, and then they throw in some other ones that you've never heard of because they made them up on the spot for this show.
But I always had that kind of thing with, especially with the more so with the prequel, also with the sequel trilogy, where it's like we're going to all these new planets and we can't really mention the old ones, but like we had, well, why not just mention, they could have done Jakku, they could have been on another planet, but in general, I like the fact of them trying to bring Scarif and Jakku and stuff and bring it all together into one big place.
And a lot of them make sense because like a good section of the series is talking about the intelligence officers within the Imperial group. That's all the people dressed in white. And it's like they would be talking about Scarif because Scarif is like the hub of where all the information in the Empire goes. So of course it's going to come up in conversation. It makes sense for them to mention that, or
obviously and bringing in Coruscant as that the like the central planet, and it's I'm just really enjoying it, and it makes a difference being in the real world as well. Just kind of it doesn't, because there's nothing wrong with the volume, and the volume can work great, but when it's every episode, it kind of it needs that mix, and I feel like Andor. It just feels more gritty. You feel like they are in that camp.
And not just the camp, but like in the valley when they're like overlooking the Imperial position and they're kind of just walking along. It does feel more authentic, which also leads into this is a ground level show. There's no Jedi, there's no Sith, anything like that. One of the other advantages that it has is that it makes the Empire actually feel powerful on the ground level. There's a single TIE fighter flying around, in the valley, and it feels scary because we're so used to the TIE fighter being, that's just cannon fodder for the X-Wings to shoot up and they die by the thousands. And this one TIE fighter could legitimately just end their entire plan if it gets lucky and spots them or sees their weapons, and that's it. And you get the impression, yeah, Luke Skywalker's not here. He's not going to chop up an entire legion of stormtroopers for you. If you get surrounded, you're gone. That's it.
Yeah.
You're done.
I think, again, it's just taking everything that we all loved about Rogue One and just stripping it down and just take it. It's just a really good series. This is top tier. It just kind of feels so strange, kind of having had Book of Boba Fett and Kenobi this year. Of like, I mean, we've always been saying how this series could be the one that was going to do it, and it isn't disappointing. I mean, it definitely, it's a really good series.
I know Obi-Wan was kind of the one that a lot of people were hanging, myself included, were hanging the hat on. Like, this is going to be the one that really breaks out. And then we get to the end of it, it's like, yeah, it was good, but
it was just a churn through what we already knew.
Right. And it was fun. I'm not going to downgrade that. I'm not going to say, oh yeah, in retrospect, Obi-Wan wasn't any good. It's like, no, it was still good. It was great to see Vader. It was great to see Obi-Wan. It was great to see these other characters. But Andor is on a completely different level. This, obviously, they can't do this with everything because the amount of money that they must have thrown into this is kind of nuts. But it just, everything in this is super high quality. And honestly, I don't even have anything to like hold against it. If you really wanted to, I could dig in and I could find some really nitpicky thing to complain about, like that blaster is using the wrong type of holster for it. That's the level of nitpicky we'd be looking at.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's along the lines of I could see how maybe if you were into The Mandalorian, you might find this one a bit slow. I can see where people might find this, maybe younger audiences and stuff might find this one. But personally, I can't say anything. I got nothing to say negative to say about this series in the slightest. It's just great. I was really enjoying it. And again, really good that they shifted this away from She-Hulk, so we've not been having that overlap. But again, I'm hoping like from pretty much now kind of being back on normal routine again, because Andor's been a bit of an odd one because luckily enough for me, I mean, I saw episode 4 like before D23. So I hadn't seen a new episode until this week from like a month ago. So I actually watched the episode again to kind of get myself back into it again before I watched episode 5, because it was like, it's been weeks since I watched it. But no, it's just a great series, just a really good one. So there we go.
I'm actually legitimately kind of like, do I want to take off a day next week so I can watch Andor first thing, which is not something I've done.
No.
And normally I wait for the end of the work day for the big projects, and for this I'm like, oh come on, episode 6 is gonna be. I hope this is gonna be really, really good.
Just get up an hour earlier. There you go.
My cats would appreciate that, I'm sure.
Because it is one of those things of it's just a great, like I said, there's been a lot of stuff this week. Next week we have got Big Shot. Got the whole season is dropping next week.
Which day is that dropping on?
I think it's Wednesday.
Okay, so we'll probably watch a handful. I will probably watch a handful of episodes, but I will not have finished the entire series.
Yes, my review will go up on Monday once I finish watching them all, because to be honest, I'll be binging them over the next 2 days, because I've got a screener for them, luckily, so I can watch them a little bit earlier. But it's a bit of, again, it's just been. There's just been so much just trying to catch up on. I've still got the Old Man, because that's now dropping weekly onto Disney Plus here in the UK. So I've been wanting to watch that one. I still got to catch up on the final couple episodes of Wedding Season. Haven't finished that one off. I haven't even started Mike, because I think with having D23 and then the vacation, it just threw everything off on, and they've just been throwing out like stuff left, right, center of like all these movies and series and stuff, and there's so lots of great stuff, and it's good, nice having a choice.
All right, so for us, we got like Big Shot, we've got Rosalind, and then obviously She-Hulk finale, Andor mini finale, so the halfway point of the series, but this should be the climax of the current arc, and Big Shot, and
Yeah, well, there's some other stuff dropping, but we won't go into all of them. But there we go. So that is this week's episode. We'll be back next week with another episode of the What's on Disney Plus podcast. We'll be doing a live Q&A here on Sunday on YouTube, and obviously during the week you'll have news updates. And just trying to think, there'll be a couple of interviews as well going out. I just put one up today with the makeup artist who worked on Obi-Wan Kenobi and also High School Musical. So check that one out. And on that note, guys, thank you very much. See you guys soon. Later.
That's a bit of a divergent list.
Which he worked on Reva. And yeah. So it's definitely a great interview to check out. And as I said, you also have the Reasonable Doubt interview as well. So check those ones out. I'll see you guys soon. Later.
For real this time.
Thank you very much for watching this video. Make sure you go check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com. Like, follow, and subscribe. Also, a huge thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and also on our YouTube channel memberships. And I shall see you guys in another video. Laters.